Thoroughbreds, they see a lot, they do a lot. They do it at high tempo as well, so they're quick thinkers. A thoroughbred is a very intelligent animal. It's significantly more intelligent than a warm blood. A warm blood, obviously, it can take you years and years and years for it to become, rideable around a ring over, around a track of jumps. A thoroughbred, you need to show it. You need to show it a hurdle once. Look at those horses jumping out there, like they're all babies. Half of them are unraced. They don't spook. They pay attention. They measure their jumps. And when you're transferring that into a new discipline, they're very malleable. The one thing that is hard to do is it's hard to collect their canter. Obviously, we've bred these and trained these to extend and open their stride out and extend and gallop and get low to the ground and gallop. The hardest thing for these horses to do is to collect their canter. That takes a good long time. But in terms of all the other bits and pieces, like teaching them to jump, teaching them to go in the ring, teaching them to, work under, at night time in an indoor school with lights on and all that type of thing, they pick that up straight away because these are very, very intelligent horses. I'll go on record, they are significantly more intelligent than warm bloods. That's not a guess, that's a fact. We've got some people that take horses off us quite regularly to retrain and go into different disciplines. We often have the staff here often take them. We get lots of people wanting them and it's great. Thoroughbreds historically have had a bit of a bad rap. People think that they're skittish and they think that they're hard to control. They're absolutely the opposite. Yeah, you're going to get one or two that's a bit wild, but that's nature. The vast majority are absolute gentlemen and ladies to deal with, and I don't even recommend them highly enough. The horses, they get ridden out for about 45 minutes every day. Some of them go out in the paddocks. The ones that enjoy it, the ones that don't. They go on the walker twice a day as well. We've got 2 full-time physios, got full-time farriers, full-time vets. Everyone's getting very, very well looked after. And horse care is absolutely primary to us. We spend a lot of time on soundness. We feel that that's where we can, don't want to use the word get an edge, but we feel that with soundness and surfaces that we use and the speeds that we go at home, we don't go fast, gives them a real chance of having a career and the longevity that you need from them. So we're very lucky to have all those things, but we work hard at keeping them all right. As you can see on a cold day like today, the Collett's been harrowed 3 times already this morning. They started harrowing at 5 o'clock this morning, so footing is most important. You have to have it absolutely consistent. David Howden's done a great job setting this up. First and foremost, you've got to congratulate everyone who's got involved in it, and to have the 8 regions offering training centres, once a month at least, if not more, to be able to take those horses, and I think as much as anything, to actually have them all gather in one place would be good for everyone to understand how everyone else is getting on, what difficulties people might be finding and what positives they might be finding. And obviously having instructors there that can point you in the right direction, give you some indications of what you can do with these horses as well, because there's where you enter them, how you can go and compete them. All these things are out there and they need to be learnt and discussed a lot more, and obviously pushed more to the forefront of people who want retrained racehorses. So it's a great initiative. I hope it gets all the support that it deserves, and we're certainly very supportive of it.
I think it's a fantastic programme and it's much needed because there are a lot of people that are keen to go and get a thoroughbred and retrain it, but maybe don't have too much understanding on how or sort of where to start. And so being able to have access to all the amazing trainers that the Thoroughbred Aftercare Programme are providing means that people don't have to play a bit of a guessing game, and can be working with people like yourself who have got a huge experience in working with the thoroughbreds and retraining them, so it takes that kind of guesswork away, and can mean that you don't have to make mistakes, because you've got people helping you that have probably already learnt from their own mistakes in the past.
Been there, seen that, done that.
The thoroughbreds are very quick to pick things up. They learn very quickly, which is why I kind of get such a buzz out of working with them, with the trainers, because you feel like you can make a big difference in a short space of time. Obviously with racing, it's all about trying to get them to win a race as quickly as possible. With the sport horses, sometimes we give them a lot longer to understand things and to pick things up, because their careers are generally a lot longer, whereas with the racing, they're often, their careers are shorter, so they want answers quicker. But luckily the thoroughbred brain seems to pick things up very quickly and they remember things, and you don't often have to teach them the same thing twice. They're often not very spooky and things like that because they have got that sort of life experience, and that's where you can sometimes get lulled into thinking they're more experienced than they are, and it will be other things that maybe catch you out by surprise because you get lulled into thinking they're very chilled and very, not spooking at this or that, but something very simple can take them by surprise. So I think it's just, having that, giving them the opportunity to learn a new routine, but I think routine is what they're used to. So although you're teaching them a new routine, stick to a system, find a system that works so that they can understand that it is a routine, it's just your routine rather than what they're used to on a daily basis.
Talk to us about some of your favourites, your go-tos, what you often use and why.
So very, very basic, always start with a very basic trot to a little cross pole, 2 strides or 3 strides to what ends up being an oxer. With the racehorses, always start with poles on the ground and build up, so everything's a progression, so you're not trying to catch them out, you actually want them to have a positive experience and learn in the right way. So always start like that, and then just always have the V poles on wide to start with, and so then just from there it's figuring out what they actually need to work on. Some it will be shortening, so then we can bring the distance a bit shorter to get them to snap up more. Sometimes it's that they need to work on their footwork in front of the fence. If that's the case, we'll put a pole in front, a trot pole in front of the cross pole, because quite often I find some of the racehorses aren't sure about getting into this space in front of the fence. They like to just stand off early but not actually learn to be quick and clever in short. So teaching them that space in front of the fence isn't lava and that they can get in there. So those are the kind of the basics, and from there we can sometimes turn it into 1 stride if I feel like they need to, if they're actually not really pushing and learning to jump properly. I often find a 1 stride with a canter pole in the middle can help them create a push and off the floor. But those are the kind of go-tos for me.
Two of the very highest achievers in equestrian sport, and even more importantly than that, 2 such admirable horsemen. Thank you very much for having us here on behalf of the Howden Way Thoroughbred Aftercare Programme.
Well, I'm just the biggest fan of the Howden Way, and just huge thank you from racing and equestrianism for everything that David is doing. He doesn't just talk about it, he does it, and it's amazing.
Talk to us about how thoroughbreds have fitted in right from your early beginnings within eventing and going on.
Well, in my eventing career, I have ridden all sorts of horses. It's not been about what they are or where they've come from. It's just been whether they suit me and whether I think they're good enough or not. And it's been really interesting to have compared all the different types that I've had. But it went back years ago, aged 18. My mother gave me a thoroughbred of hers that had raced on the flat in France. He raced over hurdles and chase fences, and she thought it was good for me to add a good old amazing junior horse called Steadfast that I was learning the ropes on, and she thought I should learn to ride a different type of horse, not just a cart horse. So she gave me Le Jeune, he was called, who was an absolutely amazing horse. But my God, he was the trickiest horse ever in every way. In the stable, to get on him, once you're on him, he was amazing, but he would eat you alive in the stable. You had to put the girth on by threading it through his front legs, holding his head, and I learned a lot with him. And then, going on through my career, I had the amazing Cool Mountain by Primitive Rising. He never raced, but he was a fantastic worker of a horse. And all sorts of come my way. Last one that I had, lovely Santini, he was there, and I've got a young one called Hussein Brun, a French AQPS, who I've still got, and he ought to find a new home really, but I'm enjoying him. He's an intermediate horse.
Heard it here first, for sale.
For sale. But he's been great fun as well. So I've always been tempted by that bit of blood.
Al, an amazing title to your name is the only girl to have ever ridden both round the Fox Hunters at Aintree and round Badminton. How do thoroughbreds, we can see you as the bright star on telly these days with your love for the thoroughbreds, but before that, and also watching your husband Will competing on the thoroughbreds, what makes them special? What makes them magic?
I loved, when you look back through horses like Macchiato, who won Blair, Bramham, Lamulin, or you look at Park Lane Hawk, who won Blenheim, Kentucky and Burley. They were always horses that when he went out on them, you knew in that lovely feeling around Burley or those big 4-stars that they'd get the distance, that, Will was so great at the minute markers, and with those horses, you always knew they'd gallop home.
They weren't going to get tired, were they? That was a real bonus. You take that for granted when you look back. And now everyone's riding fancy, whether they're, continental or warm bloods, they get quite tired.
Yeah.
And the thoroughbreds, you're right, were just a luxury to sit on. You'd be looking at a minute marker and you think, well, we're going quite fast enough, or we can make up a bit of time on this minute. And you just could. It was a real luxury. And
they were like Ferraris, those lot, weren't they?
Well, the sport is losing that because the cross-country is becoming less and less galloping.
I was at Newbury this weekend, and it was so fun seeing the Retraining of Racehorses parade, and when we were down at Wincanton the other day, and just seeing the crowd appreciate these wonderful horses who've put so much before them on the track and then have clearly gone on to really extraordinary careers afterwards. And some of them, have gone eventing, some have gone to play polo, some are just hacking, but all of them have found a niche. And then coming back to the track, I have to say Paisley Park wasn't looking particularly relaxed when he came back this weekend. But horses like Coneygree that have run in Gold Cups and are now showing, and the programme.
One-trick ponies, are they?
They're 100% not one-trick ponies, and they're intelligent.
They're great to train. I think that's what we forget. You think of a thoroughbred as a feisty galloping machine, but actually they're surprisingly easy to adapt and change. They're much, much less spooky and silly than a warm blood horse.
Do you think that's to do with his exposure as a racehorse, having some life experience, or is that, begotten or made? Is that they start with that temperament, or is that part of their upbringing?
No, they start with that.
They start with that.
The thoroughbred is not
a
a stupid, spooky horse, generally.
Yeah.
He's other things, but he's a real worker. You can train him. He wants to do generally what you want, and you've got to train him. He doesn't trot in an incredible way, always doesn't jump like a show jumper, but it's amazing how well the thoroughbred takes, has a good work ethic.
Yeah. Talk to us, how would you advise somebody who's interested in getting a thoroughbred? I know you do some teaching in the States, they seem to have good access. You've got some incredible stars that you've got from Australia or New Zealand. How would you go about finding a thoroughbred?
Yeah, I think sometimes in this country it's quite hard to know where to find one. I think talking to some racehorse trainers and saying, just in case you've got one that you think is a bit relaxed and slow, and I am interested in rehoming one, because I think quite often in this country they kind of get stuck in that whole mode of being a slow racehorse for too long, and then they come to eventing too late.
Yeah.
And you need to get them within reason of age to be able to retrain.
Yeah.
So you'd like to get them kind of 6, 7, 8. We need to get hold of them a bit sooner.
Yeah.
And some trainers here don't let go of them quite soon enough because they don't see another option. Obviously, we've got flat, hurdling and chasing. Other countries don't have the chasing as an option, so there's not going to be a flat horse. Some of them let them go at 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Some don't even bother to run them.
Yeah.
Whereas in England, they've generally been slightly tried, and then people kind of feel they've got a bit too much baggage. So it's but getting in there with some trainers, I think, will be the first point to say, just bear me in mind if you've got one that needs a good home.
And it doesn't have to be a competitive home. I think they're encouraging people that they are good at other things.
It's retraining. It's not to be a competitor necessarily. It's just to be a nice horse and to have another life and do something else well. And that in itself is the excitement. Taking on a racehorse is actually to re-educate him and give him something else he's good at, not whether he's winning fancy dressage shows or jumping 1.40 meters. Actually,
it's the process.
Is he doing well in a show class? Is he doing well out hunting? Is he doing well in a 80 centimetre event?
Yeah.